Welcome to this next episode of YouTube, where we've entitled it, Colder Temperatures Need More Calories. And certainly that's what's going on here. We are continuing to feed the pups. In previous years, all of our other pup years, we've weaned them off the daily feedings by December, but Luna and Bolts are a special case, and so we're continuing to feed them. They're less interested in the morning beef and the chicken that we had traditionally been feeding, and so what we're trying to do is 2 evenings a week, give them a deer leg or something like a beaver. That's a carcass that they can chew on. And obviously we want Luna to get a good food supply, but we also want Bolts to get a good food supply. And so we are watching that pretty closely. Luna's pretty possessive, and she actually, when we give the food, she gets it, and she'll stay on it, and she'll guard it. And so we always have to spend a lot of time in the enclosure. We're probably doubling our wolf care time now just because we're monitoring these kind of situations. And so here's Luna with, this is just a front leg of a deer. It really doesn't have more than maybe 2 pounds of meat on it, but it's, something that she's engaged in eating, and the more resources she has, the better for her. So we watched her feed on that about 10 or 15 minutes. She just kind of moved it around, and then she got pretty comfortable and lay down and really started chewing more on the hoof than on the leg, which kind of defeats the purpose of giving her meat. But she's satiated, or she's happy, so we're happy with that. But we were a little worried about Bolts. I mean, you can see him trying to approach and get some food, and Luna is guarding. She's guarding even from Bolts, and so she's a little bit in a postured threat display there. So when Luna's done with it, we'll try to give Bolts a little bit, and if he doesn't get some of that deer leg, which he actually did later in these clips, we would supplementally feed him. The problem is Bolts is so timid. You really need to be cautious where the other wolves are when he's feeding. If Aiden and Denali come up when he's eating, he'll just stop and let them have it. Sometimes he's starting to get a little more threat displays, but sometimes he's still a little timid. And while this is going on, I found this interesting. Denali retreats to the top of what we call the Raven Rock. This is a double-stacked rock, pretty high. Luna can't actually get up there. And Denali's just waiting to get that deer leg. And so you see his ears are kind of sideways there and interested and looking around. But he's waiting for an opportunity to get those deer legs. In this next clip I filmed, he got a little more intent. His ears started to perk forward. And what's going on is that Aiden's kind of posturing with Luna and distracting her a little bit from the food, and he's watching and he's waiting for his opportunity to get in there and try to get some. So needless to say, it's wolf care is not just leave a leg and go. You literally have to be in there and monitoring and see who's getting what food. And here's the Aiden Luna distraction. So that previously we saw Bolts move over to the deer leg because Aiden was distracting Luna, and they're doing a little bit of social engagement, little jaw sparring, little wrestling. This is pretty social for Aiden. He's tail wagging. He's gonna try to roll over for Luna, and she's again in a posture that's very social as well. So Luna kept coming over to the camera. She actually sat by me for quite a while, and Aiden continued to kind of socially engage by himself, just rolling over his back, very relaxed. And this was a very, very relaxed check. This is about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's just getting dark, and they're doing well and getting along well. So Luna continues to be a little possessive of an old hide here. That moose hide's been in there since the 1st of November, and it's still in there. And that's really what the hides are for, is kind of a little distraction, a little bit of a play encounter that they can have with those hides. And then she comes back over to the camera to greet. So here's Denali wanting to get in on it a little bit, but Aiden's got no part of it. He's going to posture to Denali and guard. I'm not sure if he's guarding Luna, the hide, or the camera operator, or he just doesn't want Denali in that interaction. So he goes over and postures a little bit more. And you see Denali's tail is down what we call a T3.5, where it's actually touching the haunches, a little bit more intimidation. Denali's hackles come up a little bit, and then he kind of wanders off towards the deer leg, which Bolts currently has. And Aiden continues to play with the hide, which entices Luna to come over and guard the hide. And this went on for about an hour. I mean, it was an interesting wolf check. The whole time I was just trying to monitor what Bolts ate and what Luna ate. And so a lot of good interactions there for me to film while I'm trying to do my job. So, like I said, the Bolts situation. He's feeding on here right now. He's doing well, and we are going to try to get weights again tomorrow. I said we probably were done weighing, but we've got a warm spell coming in, so I'm going to try to get a weight on him again tomorrow. He's, like I say, he's getting food, but he's not getting nearly as much as Luna is, because Luna's behavior, as you can see here, threat displaying, and has no problem biting a 135-pound Denali in the face, getting him away from that hide. And so that's a little bit of a challenge. And then what's interesting here, Luna walks over to Bolts. Bolts has no threat display towards Luna when he's feeding. Luna comes right in, and they actually are fairly compatible. And now Aiden comes over to the camera. So, again, compatibility, that's what we look for, and making sure that, because we are introducing pups that are not related to the adults, we want to make sure that they're getting along well, and we're happy with that. Got a little ice balls on Aiden's feet here. He's the only one that seems to be having issues as the weather warms a little bit. That can happen. So Grizzer, we didn't get any footage of him. So we resorted to the surveillance camera, and he's been doing a lot of howling, actually starting a lot of howling. But here he's got his deer head possession, trying to keep it from the ravens that are flying low, and he's going to carry that off the den and do kind of a circle and come in, and I actually found it cached the next morning in his straw bed up in the kennel next to the wolf yard. So he's keeping his food away from the ravens. That's a full-time job around here. The ravens are very active in the wintertime. They're social group animals or group birds, and they are really frequently visiting the exhibit because of the excess food. In this next clip, Grizzer and Oscar are engaging in some social behavior between the fence there. Grizzer is rolling over on his back, and he doesn't seem to mind much that Oscar's a dog who barks a little bit too much. Both of them have pretty excitable tails, and you see over on the right, that's Denali kind of watching and wagging his tail, and then Oscar takes a run over there. Oscar takes a run around the back side of Grizzer's pen, but it's blocked off. We don't want Oscar back near Shadow Malik, not because Oscar bothers them, but because Malik's a little aggressive towards Oscar, and we're worried about Oscar's safety back there. So, like I say, he kind of keeps springboarding back and forth, and this goes on for at least a half an hour, if not longer. And it was probably stimulated by what's going on in the exhibit pack. You can kind of see in front of Grizzer's chute to the main exhibit there, there's Luna and Bolts doing a little bit of wrestling, and they're probably the source of all this kind of excitement. But like I say, it's good for Grizzer. We do try to let Oscar have some Grizzer time, usually every morning, and then every evening. Oscar actually is staying off site at night, so he's not here all night long, and that sometimes gives Grizzer a little more excitement to see him in the mornings when he comes in. But other than that, things are, for Grizzer, things are going well. One of the reasons why we didn't get video footage is because he's really, really spending a lot of time with staff in a subordinate posture, getting his belly rubbed. He's very, very relaxed, and actually the entire place is pretty calm. Despite these little episodes of Luna and Bolts kind of going a little bit wild, wrestling with each other, the pack dynamics here is probably calmer than we've seen in a long time. And we do see, certain times of the day when it's pretty excitable, and like say right away in the mornings, right after wolf care. 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon is also kind of another real excitable time around here. So the combination of Oscar and Grizzer and Shadow Malik and the main pack, everybody seems to have their social time and their social companionship. So Grizzer actually takes off, and he runs all the way to the back of his pen, and then runs all the way back to the front to see Oscar. So he's running with Oscar, even though Oscar can't join him in the run. And that's, like I said, it's good to see Grizzer in that kind of excitement, and that's one of the concerns we always have for a lone wolf is, are they getting enough stimulus? And that's part of Oscar's job. And Oscar does that real well. So over in retirement, Shadow's doing great. We see a very alert posture, and this is Shadow here. You can see ears pricked forward, very alert to what's going on. And because it is, again, a little bit below freezing, nighttime temperatures actually were down below 0 here the other night, and we are still giving the retirees, that means Shadow, Malik, Grizzer, a Wednesday feeding, and this was a little bit of moose meat. They come in 1 pound packages. We got them from a local hunter who donated them. They were from last year's moose, and so he had a little bit left over, and he donated the meat. And so we feed those, and we keep them kind of frozen. It's something that they seem to engage in. They don't care much for thawed, just piles of meat. They like the frozen part, and so we make sure that we have enough in there for both of them, probably giving about 4 or 5 pounds apiece. And Shadow's favorite thing is to carry it around and looks like a stogie and walk around with it and cache it and then come back and eat it later. By the next morning, everything was gone, so they did consume all of it. And I'll leave you with a clip here. This is Shadow who's stimulating to Howl, and he's getting that old man voice, that kind of little bit of a hoarse howl. Lakota had that same thing when she got to be about 13. She'd howl, but it just didn't have the vocal cords like they used to. So I'm going to leave you with this clip of Shadow starting a howl, joined in by Grizzer, and you can hear the exhibit pack in the far back, and we also will feature a clip of Malik howling. So that's it for this week's YouTube. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the howling.